Hi. Based on the title, you know why you're here. I had a couple videos that I wanted to record tonight, but this one has been overdue for a while, and I feel like how I'm feeling, the style of video that I want to create today matches how I'm feeling. So let's talk. Okay, ADHD. I was diagnosed last November in Bangkok at the Bangkok Mental Health Clinic. No, Bangkok Mental Health Hospital. I highly recommend it. I will put in the product description the carousel that explains the entire process, just how easy it was to book, the cost, the diagnostic process, like all of that. And for context, I was told by a client that, yeah, Chloe, I think you're neurodivergent. And we were at a retreat in Bali, or mastermind in Bali that I was hosting a couple years ago. And I had seen ADHD content at this point, yeah, like all over the place. And I always laughed along with it, not really internalizing the label as like, oh yeah, that's so me. And I would hear people say, oh, it's my ADHD. And sometimes I would say it, but again, because I didn't have the diagnosis, I didn't want to fully own the title or the label or anything. So I always knew in the back of my mind, I'm something. There's something going on. And I think in my earlier years, it just started with not really fitting in. This sense of belonging was like this ongoing struggle. And it wasn't because I was, so wildly different or I don't know. I could see that my brain interpreted the world very differently than my peers and my peers at every level. So whether it was preschool, elementary school, middle, or high, and then eventually college, like I always felt like not an outcast, but a bystander, perceiving the world from a bird's eye perspective that other people could not tune into as well. And this is not putting me in this like superior place. It was just, I saw the world very differently. And when I would try to have conversations from that difference of perspective, I was often like, huh? Like, I wasn't met with like, huh, tell me more. Any curiosity. It was just kind of like, what are you talking about, Glow? And I think there is a reason I also love like emotional intimacy and depth and hate small talk. And, there are small random quirks that ADHD people have that I always just kind of took as like a personality trait. I don't know. But I wanted to make this video about the medication specifically because I think there are stigmas, maybe there's just different opinions that you've heard and you've like kind of ruled it out as an option. And I also wasn't sure, like, when they tell you, oh, we have medication, are you interested? Is this for life? Is this temporary? Does it take my ADHD away forever with a certain, like I wanted to understand what am I actually subscribing to? And I really appreciated how they were open. There was no force of like, yep, you got the ADHD, or as Stefan calls it, the HDTV. They did not say, okay, we're prescribing you. They were like, are you interested in learning about medication options? Are you currently in any type of therapy? Like what is your process for coping? Because you people can, interpret disabled, but I'm like differently abled. We are differently abled mentally, emotionally, spiritually. We are out here raw dogging the world with rejection sensitivity, not for the weak. So yeah, I was definitely curious. And they prescribed, I think, three different types of medications. One that could be taken as like a full day dosage. It lasts about 12 hours. One that was more of a 4 to 6 hour window. And then another that was kind of like a short but midday, or could be taken in combo with another. So I got to kind of like say, okay, I'm going to do, one per week to just kind of see. I wasn't even sure of like what do you call it? The residual effects would be. Like if I take a full day pill on Monday, how do I feel on Tuesday? I was curious about that. So I made sure that in between my testing, I was allowing ample space to just, yeah, like not confuse. Like I never wanted to go 2 days in a row taking the pill, which I eventually did test just to see. And I was like, no, that is not how I want to consume this. So, yeah, I think the biggest benefit, well, first and foremost, I am so grateful that at the time I was transitioning my life to Bangkok. I had fully left the US, sold and gave away almost everything, put the sentimental stuff in storage, and yeah, like completely said, all right, I'm never living in the US again. And I still wasn't sure where the next place would be. I mean, granted, we're going to live in like so many countries. Every 5 years, we hope to move to a different country just because. So when I was in Bangkok, I got to see how accessible health and services are. In the US, when I was trying to do a diagnostic process, I mean, my healthcare provider, I had a private practice, they didn't diagnose. So I had to like search for online testing places. There was like a 3 month wait list. And to opt into the wait list, you had to pay a deposit. And this wait list was like arbitrary. It wasn't like, hey, on this date, you'll actually get your appointment. It was like, you know, when if you're on the list, we'll just eventually tell you what day we think we can serve you. And of course, because I am traveling often with Stefan for events, hosting, like I'm gone, I'd be gone. So there would be a time where I'd get an email like, hey, your event is or your appointment is next week. And I'm not gonna be in the country. So I asked to reschedule and they say, oh, you'll just have to repay and re-sign up for the wait list. So you do that enough times and you're like, is this a scam? It really shouldn't be this complicated. And it was already going to be a three-step diagnostic process. Whereas, I respect, if that's what the process took, but to go to Bangkok and to see that I could be diagnosed within the hour was crazy because I didn't even expect that. So for that to be the result, I was just so grateful because they don't try to prolong appointments in order to get as much money from you as possible. I think the US it's operated like a business with the priority of capitalism. So, yeah, you just have such humane treatments when you're traveling and you're in different countries. So I really appreciated that. So yeah, I talk about the process. You could, if you want to really read it in detail, the um, video description, the carousel is like it's worth the read. I talk about how I grieved the first couple months, and going back to how I was moving to Bangkok during that diagnostic process, it allowed me the space to heal. I think I was trying to like relearn how to love myself again, but no longer from this wounded child place that I had felt so much of my identity was like trying to protect. And I think I think the hardest part for me was like not only coming to terms with the fact that, man, if only I had this information sooner, I would have been a lot kinder to myself. And that information could have really helped maybe my teachers in my younger years, where I was just a brat. I was getting kicked out of school, detention, getting in fights. Like I was just a problem child. And I think no one knew why I was the way I was. And I started to harbor that shame of like, I don't know why I am the way I am, but I also know that I'm capable and I'm smart and when I want to do something, I can do it. So it was this very, I don't know, this duality of being on both ends of the spectrum where when I'm good, I'm really good. When I'm bad, I'm really bad. There was no in between. You were getting all of me on either side. So in Bangkok, moving into the new condo, and I'm just like, okay, taking the medication a day at a time. And I remember wanting to just like be with myself because I didn't know what the side effects would be. I did hear, some whispers of irritability. And so I didn't want to risk being around people. So there was one time I was invited to a last minute thing and I was like, okay, let me just, let me go. And I only took the short day pill. So I was like, okay, this should be fine. And I could feel like there was a moment where I snapped and it was I had said something and someone ignored me. So I said it again and they still didn't hear. And so that third time I was like, it was very sharp. And as soon as it came out, I was like, I'm sorry, because I recognized what it was. The irritability was like heightened. And I was like, I'm so sorry that that came out in a way that was unnecessary. I'm sorry. And I just, and they were like, oh, okay. Like maybe it wasn't a big deal to them, but because I feel like I was witnessing myself, process and live life a little bit differently, a little sharper. They say the medication is like glasses for your brain. I feel like I was more tuned in and aware of how I was coming across. And also, like, for many ADHD people, we struggle with people pleasing so much because we've had to mask so much of our identity in order to feign belonging and find acceptance in any type of clique or community. The medication allows you to just pull the veil off and be like, actually, I don't want to be here anymore. And I think that removing a veil can kind of scare people because they're like, oh, Glow was always a person that just went along to get along. And now she has needs. Now she has boundaries. I have to respect them. So I could definitely tell the shift in a couple friendships where I was like, yeah, no longer willing. Like I was always the happy-go-lucky, easygoing person. And then I just was like, no, I can't. Or no, I won't. And it wasn't mean. It was just like, for the first time expressing that I don't desire to do something or I don't want to be a part of something. And I think that caught people off guard, but I think the respect for me grew because I don't know, when you finally stop looking at someone as someone that you could like, I don't even want to say take advantage of, but we all have different types of people in our life. The person that you know, it's a rainy day and you have a 1 hour drive to the airport, you can call them versus someone who, um, I don't know, but we have pockets of people that we know we can rely on them for this. And maybe I was the rainy day 1 hour airport drive person, even though I don't have a car. This is a very random example. I stopped saying yes to the airport rides. I no longer felt obligated. If I didn't want to do something, I expressed that. Whereas before, I masked the fact that I didn't want to do something and I did it anyway. And it was this constant feeling of self-abandonment because I didn't trust myself to be enough. I was constantly looking for other people to say, oh, it's Glow will do this and Glow will do that, and you can count on Glow. That level of external validation is not healthy. And I think with ADHD, because of our rejection sensitivity, we are hyper aware of how people perceive us. And so this mask, but depending on the table, depending on the room, depending on the context, it's a survival mechanism. And I was ready to drop it. And I remember even a situation where um, I got into like a tense, it wasn't even an argument, but a tense conversation with someone. And I saw myself being the new version of myself and not backing down. Whereas in the past, I would have taken the fall and, taken the blame and like not advocated for myself or my needs. And so I look back and I'm like, yeah, good for me. And so 2025 has been a lot of just finding my voice, using my voice, setting a new standard for myself, what I will and won't allow. And even in my relationship with Stefan, like we've had to relearn how to love each other at this new level of clarity and knowing. Like I had to say, you know what, this was okay before, but not anymore. Like this is who I am now. And I think it's incredibly important to have a partner that understands neurodivergence and is willing to do their own research and ask you the hard questions. And yeah, to support your journey. Like it's not easy, kind of like relearning yourself at 35 years old. So there's a lot of adult ADHD diagnosis happening right now, women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond that are just now receiving the information that could have quite literally changed their life if they had it earlier. So for context, I'm actually unmedicated for this video. I should have mentioned that earlier. On average, I'm taking a pill once a week or once every 10 days, so maybe twice a month. In the beginning, I think I was taking it a lot more frequently, like 2 to 3 times a week, like one day on, one day off. And once I started to, I almost like had to acclimate the two versions of myself, unmedicated and medicated, and like what version of me do I want to be on a day-to-day basis. And there is this level of still bubbly, quirky, carefree, forgetful, random. Like I love that part of me. Like that, my ADHD is what makes up so much of my personality. So on the pill, I am so focused, I am so serious. I'm so diligent. I'm so disciplined. I'm and I had a good friend visit me in Bangkok and it was great. So we were filming on set for a couple days and I didn't tell her this information because I wanted to tell her after. She also suspects she's ADHD, go figure. But the first day I was medicated. So when her and her crew arrived, I was like, okay, I think I had 4 or 5 different types of drinks, 4 or 5 different types of Bangkok delicacies and food and arrangements and assortment. Like I made my condo look like a movie set, and I had like it was like the green room. Like they had everything that they could ever think of. And I later learned that it was a lot. For me, I'm just like, oh, I'm just being prepared. I'm just setting the stage so that they don't have to worry about needing anything. Like I just wanted it to be available. And then the conversation that we had, I was very like, this is what it is. And da, 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 da. I was like, my answers were very clear and certain and direct and almost rehearsed. Like I came across very sure, like very self-assured. Um, yeah. And then the second day, I didn't take the medication because the second day, I don't know if we were planning to film, but we ended up filming. So because of that, I was like, oh, I don't need to be on, I don't need to be professional, whatever that means. And we're filming, and huh, she's like, you're so much more relaxed. And I was like, say more. Me knowing that I'm gonna eventually tell her. I was like, oh, say more about that. What do you mean, relax? She's like, yeah, yesterday. She was like, I don't think you noticed, but there was so much food. She was like, everything, as soon as we walked in, there were so many directions and so many things and so much to choose from. And like it was a lot. And yeah, it was intense. And then as we got towards the end of the interview, she was like, and your answers today, they're so much more human. It just feels normal. It feels, yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, today was more fun. And I was like, well, let me hold your hand when I say this. I have ADHD, and yesterday I was on my ADHD medication. And she's like, whoa. And so we had already been talking about, ADHD symptoms and all that kind of stuff. And she was like, is that what it does to you? Is that what it does to the brain? Like, is that what happens when you're on versus off? And I was like, pretty much. And I think because my brain was also, I mean, at that point, maybe I was 6 months into the medication. Yeah, ish, little under 6 months into testing the medication. So still learning what my capacity was, still learning um, I don't know what felt comfortable and normal for me and maintaining who I was while getting the help that I needed. Because the reality is on the medication, oh, I can't even, I should have led with this part. You do things. You just do things. ADHD, we fantasize about doing things, we plan to do things, we strategize the things, we think about the things, we forecast the things, we will procrastinate. It's this mirage of action. ADHD, so much of what inhibits us is our procrastination, but it's not just procrastination of like, I don't feel like doing it. It's like, I will die if I have to do this. Doing this right now feels like death. Therefore, I want to live. Therefore, avoidance. It's so drastic the way our body internalizes day-to-day tasks as if it's like the end of us. It's lifting this boulder constantly to wash the dishes, to do something that is so basic. And our brain has already catastrophized the process. And then the shame that comes from not having done it already, it just piles. And then you sit in this filth of like fear. I am not capable. I am not worthy. I suck. Everyone hates me. Everyone's mad at me. I dropped the ball again. How did I forget? Oh my gosh. It's this, imagine talking to yourself that way for 35 years. It's exhausting to live with a brain that's constantly telling you that you suck, that you're not enough, that you're so forgetful, that you're so lazy. That's the biggest one with ADHD. We have convinced ourselves that we're lazy because it takes so much more for our prefrontal cortex to have and build the capacity for executive function that we are tired by the time it's time to actually do the task. So it is very um, sad, honestly, when you recognize the day-to-day struggle of just existing with ADHD and how we've just been out here trying to keep up all this time, not getting the help that we actually need. So the medication, it's like anything you think about doing, you just do it. And for someone who for 35 years has never had that ability, it is mind blowing. It is life changing. It is everything I desire and more. So I absolutely recommend medication. I have said before that I won't say which kind because I don't want to, there's no one size fits all. I believe everyone has, will have different symptoms or everyone needs to test based on their doctor's prescription what works best for them versus me, what works for me might not work for you. So I'm mindful. Because and there's like negative opinions for every type of ADHD medication. So I also don't want to be like, oh, continuity camera. Okay, good to know. Sorry, I just got a notification that I'm at 20%. Okay, let me wrap this up. ADHD ramble. So, yeah, when she said that, I was like, here's what's actually happening. And she was like, oh, wow, so this is what the medication does to you. Like, I have to be honest, you were more relaxed today. I felt like I was talking to a human and not like, she didn't say robot, but that she was like, you were so structured and so disciplined. It was like almost, she didn't use the word intimidating, so I'm mindful not to put words in her mouth, but that's kind of like the implication was that it was like it was so much I didn't even know how to be in your presence because everything was like so so direct, so formal, so um, so yeah, that's what I really appreciated that level of insight and honesty because that's actually really important that you maintain a close group of friends who you can say, hey, I'm on my medication today, so if this happens, I might have this happen. Or just, I don't know, looping them in on the process of you trying to relearn your existence and your boundaries in real time. And I'm so grateful. I had about like 10 really quality friends in this like past spring that really allowed me to exist in all of me. And I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel ashamed. I didn't feel weird. Um, yeah, so I just really appreciated that. And there's a lot of books I've read books because that's the first thing, we love to hyperfixate. So the first thing when you get a diagnosis, you read all the books, you listen to all the podcasts. And I think my favorite book, I think it was called like Women with ADHD. See if I can quickly. I think that was the one. There was one book that just Is it that one? Maybe. Did say ADHD for smart ass women? I was like, that sounds like something that I feel like I would need to read. Um, hmm, why can't I find it? Here it is. I was like, there was one that was really good. The only book women with adult ADHD need. What a title, huh? Come on, marketing. This is by Natalie M. Brooks. The only book women with adult ADHD need. And yeah, devoured it maybe in a couple days. I got the audiobook so I can listen to it on walks and just in the background. And yeah, it just really helped me normalize, contextualize who I was, how I felt my entire existence. There's a lot of grief that comes with the initial diagnosis, and then there's a whole beautiful, expansive journey of self-love on the other side. And to now be in that journey of self-love but like in a self-love that I've never had for myself before. I have said in the past when Stefan and I were dating, it was intense, not intense, not the word. It was it was so vulnerable because he loved me more than I loved myself. And once I recognized that, I'm like, I don't like he made me love myself more, but I don't like how like that's not the way the dynamic should be. You should love yourself so much. They should love their selves so much. You both come together loving yourselves and each other, and you grow from that place. So when the dynamic shifts where one person has more love than a person has for themselves, it's not healthy. So when I recognize that, yeah, we had lots of conversation and therapy around how do I go on this journey for me? And so the diagnosis, like that really catapulted my journey because prior to that, I wasn't sure how to love myself better. I just was like hoping one day I would just feel it. So it was great. The diagnosis just got me to fully and finally understand who I was, why I operate the way I do, why I build businesses the way I do, why I like so much of the things that I thought were the worst parts of me are actually my superpowers. And that's why I created the superpower system. I'll also put that in the video description. It's really the ADHD superpower system is all about leveraging the quirks that people have shunned you for to benefit you and your business. And it's been a beautiful journey. So yeah, I'm just grateful that I just stuck with it. Okay, I'm sure I'll make more videos about this. Feel free to ask any other follow-up questions that I didn't cover in the chat. I guess I'll close with this. After about 9 months now, being on the medication, I I love that I'm at a place where I'm not reliant, but I am appreciative. Like I can appreciate when I need it and it comes in handy. And I can appreciate when on a day-to-day basis I have no desire to use it because I like my life as it is now that I have this understanding and insight. And it even helped me heal a lot of the um, just confusion around my dad and I. He passed away almost 15 years ago. And yeah, I got my ADHD from him. It made me understand him so much better. He was this charismatic pastor, he was an entrepreneur. He drove, or he managed a fleet of limos and drove high profile people from the airport in Oakland when we lived in California. So I was like, I saw his office. It was always scattered. It was always just chaos. And I saw how much my mom was like, did not approve of his pursuits, it was just, there was a lot of contention. And so I recognized, like, oh, I'm just my dad reincarnated. And that also makes up for a lot of the contention that, you know, my mom can sometimes feel for me and the path that I've taken. So it's like I'm a reminder and almost like a reincarnation of him. And so it explains so much of my relationship with my mother. I was like, oh, I don't have to fix this anymore. Like this is what it is. And that was really healing and beautiful for me. So yeah, I share this hoping that you get the support you need if you think you are ADHD. Again, in the description, I will share the clinic that has all the information, price, cost, all that stuff. Um, a very simple process to get an appointment. And yeah, you get a vacation to Thailand out of it too. So hopefully it just becomes more accessible if you're in the US. Even in the UK, I heard it was really hard. So yeah, that is all I've got. If you are new here, be sure to like and subscribe. I am doing a daily coaching video every day for a year, and we're just getting started, baby. Okay. There are deeper ways to work with me in the description below, but thank you so much for joining, and I will see y'all tomorrow and click, I guess, one of these things.